morning, Sharpshot21 here tonight, and we are doing the last piece of the gantry and hopefully the tool head this evening. So we're doing the, I guess it's the X axis, but it's also moves on the, it's a tool head carrying beam. It has the X rails on it, runs along the Y rails fore and aft in the machine. So we're going to start with that, and then we'll get into the tool head too. Let me set you down and grab some parts. First thing first for this last gantry piece is to attach the last two rails to the gantry beam. So two of the rails, only one of them gets installed using the guides, the other one gets left on loose and is tightened down later. Needs to be sort of snug, but not tight. This one can be tight. Let me pop the captives out and stick some T-nuts in. We're carrying on with how we did them for everything else. It's going to be 8 T-nuts for each. Now my little trick for this, at least initially, as I demonstrated with the Z install and the other Y and the Y rail install, is you just kinda sorta put everything where you want it. You get it all close enough, you slide it over. We drop those down on top, and then we get it lined up with as many of them as we can. Get them started. Excuse me. Get them started a few turns. On all the ones that line up. Shift it over as needed. Repeat the same on this one. I'll come back. We're back. Next step is to do the Xy Joint Assemblies. Got the left and the right. And that's the left. And the right. Start with the left. We are going to need our remaining M5 by 40s. We need 4 per. Some M5 nuts. Our remaining 695s. And a GT2 6mm wide 20 tooth idler. which is not those. So I've got those. Oh, and the shims, which are over here. I want to take the yes. So it's the left one. Which is our left, I guess. Machine's right. Either way, whatever. Doesn't matter. The one where the top has the big step versus no step. Though they look like they're the same. Our socket head M5x40s go into all of these holes, including this one, which is pretty much just a place to hold it. And run these down through. Okay, having these all in, looking at the diagram, the one with the step gets an idler. The one where the rod is just kind of, or the screw is just kind of sitting there, gets a spacer. Two of these bearings in the usual fashion. Flanges to the outside. And another spacer. This whole assembly then goes down onto 3 nuts. And a blind hole. So, time to get those nuts in place. Grab another one of these. Basically, we're just going to use this rod or this screw to suck the nut in place. Get all 4 of these in and we'll come back. Run the nuts down in now. Now, this should kind of just drop in like that. We'll use these 3 to suck it in, and this 4th one is just to hold this idler. Remember, you want to leave this one kind of loose so that the screw can, or the bearing can spin. And then the hole that this one screws into is actually threaded in the plastic, so don't over tighten it. And that's one left side done. I'll do the right side. We'll get them mounted up. Two final things to do before we can put these on is we need to finish off the end stop bracket. I'm using the Hall Effect end stop on my build this time. You can use the micro switches, either one's fine. I wanted to go with the Hall Effect. So, Hall Effect board, the mounting. I'm going to use two M3x8s because I believe that's what these are tapped out for. Yep. In. Okay. Takes a little bit of convincing to get these screws to go in. Those button down, and then when we finally mount this cross rail to the main gantry, run a couple screws up, and it's good to go. The other thing is we need to have the tape chain mount, not the tape chain, the drag chain mount all set. Really all this needs right now is 3 heat set inserts on the top. So we will break out these soldering. I'm using the generic drag chains for mine, or cable change, whatever you want to call them. So this is the generic mount. If you're using the Aegis chains or the zip chains, there are different mounts for those. Please consult the STL files for the correct ones. To mount our rail set to our ends, we need 2 M5x10s and somewheres 2 M5x16s. I oopsed. And when I needed to top up, I accidentally ordered socket heads instead of button heads. I'll replace them later. And we need a couple of M5 by 30s. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to... Nope, I can't do that. Oh, never mind, I don't need it. So, we're just going to slot these on. Figure out where it goes. And we're going to drop in 2 more M5 T-nuts at the bottom. M5 T-nuts at the bottom, go in first, M5s at the top, can go in later. Okay. Slot it in. Realize we got it close, but not quite. Scooch it over. Take your M5 by 30. And we're going to run those down first. Now there are 2 sets of notches, one on the bottom, one on the front here. That's where the rails need to sit. Make sure they slot in, and then it's time to put on the second one. Make sure you get it tight. This side is going to have a gap because there is a cable pathway, so you can get the cable from your end stop up and into the chain. Run this M30 down, or M5 by 30. Now, flip her over. Ooh. This side, the side without the cable run, gets the M5 by 10s. The side with the cable run gets the M5 by 16s and the cable chain guide. So we need 4 more T-nuts. That's what I thought. It's nice to be able to put these in and then slide them over. For all four of the T-nuts, you want the long ends pointing towards the middle. Otherwise, you're not going to get them both in. Now, there's a notch in this. The notch will line up with the cable raceway. These are a little big, but they're not gonna they're a little big on the head, but that shouldn't affect anything. It's not too badly. So if you do oopsie like I did, you can fix it. So that is the pretty much complete brace. I'm going to put this on once we get the tool head finished. So let me come back with some tool head parts. I said tool head, I meant carriage. First things first, we've got the parts we're going to need for this one, and yes, it is time to bring out the sensor. First thing though is everything needs, or just about everything, needs some heat sets. So we're going to do heat sets first. Alright, we've got this, which is the stop, or the holder for the sensor. You've got two little top hat shaped ones, which are the belt clips, and then this bottom hole on either side of the carriage gets a heat set. Two go in here. I'm doing this on the metal plate so I don't burn my tabletop. So I apologize that it's black on black. It's done. All right, that I believe is all of the pieces we need for the tool head. Now for screws, Need some M3 by 30s, which is nuts. There we go, M3 by 30. Two of those for the moment. Two M3 nuts. The carriage is keyed, so it will only go together one way. And we're putting screws in the front holes, but not that one. Swap out my screwdriver here. When putting this one in, make sure you get the orientation correct. The top of the hole is rounded over, and we'll get into that in a minute. This bottom hole that's a bit rounded, and because I'm using the inductive sensor, we have to fit a magnet. I think, oh, not quite. Smack it in. Just want it flush. And hopefully that's the right way around. If it's not, well, take the screw out, drive a longer one through, pop it out, flip it around. But that screw goes there. Next step is we need some M3 by 20s. A clamp and our sensor. Now there's a run for the cable right up here. Sensor snaps in, comes over. Our clamp goes in the back. And then we just screw them in gently. Oop, come here. This cable can stay just like that. And some M3 by 12s. M3 by 12s are used to hold the belt clamps in place. And they are a socket head style. I'm just going to run those in nice and gentle for the moment. Let me go grab the crossbar. So, we need 4 M3 by 8s, and you can use either button heads or socket heads. And I'm going to attempt to find my button heads if I've got any. Which it doesn't look like I have, so we're going to use the socket heads. It may make things a little more difficult down the line, but for the moment. All right, that's it. On the bottom, we need M3 by 30. To go through the pivot block on the bottom here. Don't need to hook it down. You just want to hold this little pivot block in. And then it's another 4 M3 by 8s. Now if you built the 2.2, or we're thinking about building a 2.2, you'll notice the head is a little different. I mean, it's fairly similar, but you have the second rail on this one, or if you're converting from a 2.2. And the reason they added this second rail, to my understanding, is because the tool head weighs more because there's the extruder built in now. The afterburner tool head. So, there's our XY. We'll grab the gantry, and we will mount it all together. All right. Starting to put the gantry back on, or the crossbar on the gantry. And we need 6 M3 by 16s. 4 of which go here. The one with the chain holder, the back 2, get the M3 by 16s. the end stop on, you've got the X on one side, the Y on the other. That's going to mount just like this. That way the sensor lines up with the magnet, and the other sensor will line up with the other magnet. For this, we need two M3 by 30s. Gantry is done. Moves nice and free. I still have the rail loose, but I think we're in a good spot. We'll call this a good stopping point for the carriage. We'll do all the belting up in the same video. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. It really helps me out, and it lets you know when I put something new up. New videos will be going up on Tuesdays or Thursdays at 8 a.m. Eastern. And if I do decide to do live streams, I will try to give 24 hours notice. So hit the subscribe button on the channel, and you'll be notified when I post that stuff too. Hope to see you next time. Sharps out.